Level 1. The Conscript. The drum starts before dawn. You don't have time to think about what it means. Lace your boots, grab your musket, and fall into line. 200 other men look exactly as lost as you feel. The sergeant doesn't ask your name. He asks your regiment. You tell him. He points at a spot, and you take it. That is the entirety of your welcome to the Grande Armée. You are 19 years old, from a village in Burgundy. Your father made barrels. Your mother kept a kitchen garden. The biggest decision was which field to work. 6 weeks ago, a conscription officer came through your commune with a list. Your name was on it. You had 48 hours. Now you are here. The army is its own country. It has its own language, economy, and laws. Its own social hierarchy, nothing to do with the one you were born into. In the village, your family had a name. Here, your name is your regimental number, until you earn the right to be called something else. That process takes longer than you think, and costs more than you are prepared to pay. The first thing you learn is that hunger is structural. Supply lines are always behind. The army is always moving. March now, eat when possible. You learn to sleep in 4-hour intervals, to keep your powder dry with obsessive attention. After the third time rain ruins a man's cartridge, leaving him with nothing but a bayonet, you learn that the men directly around you are the most important people in the world. Not because of sentiment, but because in a line engagement, they are the margin between holding and breaking. Whether you live or die in the next 10 minutes depends almost entirely on whether they hold. You are afraid almost constantly at first, then you are afraid intermittently. After your first engagement, a skirmish near the Rhine, you are something other than afraid. 9 men in your company are killed. You are not brave, you are numb, in a specific and functional way that allows you to continue operating. You recognize this for what it is. You don't examine it too closely. The pay is 7 sous a day when it arrives, which is not always. You supplement it by taking from the dead, not spoken about openly, but practiced universally. A dead Austrian cavalryman has better boots. You take them. You don't feel much about it. Feeling much is a luxury the living cannot afford. What you do feel, gradually, is something unexpected. Pride. Not in the abstract patriotic sense the recruiters used, something more immediate and physical. You can march 30 kilometers in a day, carrying 20 kilograms of equipment and arrive ready to fight. You can load and fire 3 rounds a minute under pressure. You can sleep anywhere and wake instantly and function on a level of deprivation that would have seemed impossible a year ago. You are capable of things you didn't know you were capable of. This knowledge changes how you see yourself. One morning, your sergeant tells the company that the emperor himself will ride past the position before the day's march. You don't sleep the night before. When he passes, small, compact, moving fast on a gray horse, not looking at you specifically, but somehow looking at all of you simultaneously, something happens in your chest that you don't have a word for. The men around you are the same. Nobody speaks for a full minute after. You would die for that. You don't fully understand why, but you would. Level 2, the Corporal. You have been in the army for 14 months when they give you the stripe. It doesn't come with a speech. Your sergeant tells you that Marshal is dead. Dysentery, not combat, which somehow makes it worse. You are taking his place effective immediately. No ceremony. 8 men now look to you for direction. The column moves in 20 minutes. You adjust. The stripe changes everything and nothing simultaneously. Your pay increases to 11 sous a day. Your authority is narrow. 8 men, a section of a company. But it is real authority with real accountability. When one of your men fails to maintain his equipment, it reflects on you. When one breaks from the line, it reflects on you. When one steals from a civilian, drawing an officer's attention, you stand before the captain, explaining yourself. You learn quickly that leadership at this level is almost entirely relational. You cannot compel men through rank alone. You have to know who needs firm handling, and who needs steadiness, and who needs to believe they are being trusted. You learn this by getting it wrong several times and adjusting. Your first real test comes during a river crossing in Prussia. The boat ahead of yours takes fire. 2 men in your section freeze. You don't think about what to do. You grab the nearest one by the collar and move him physically toward the far bank and shout something at the other one. You don't remember afterward. Both of them cross. Both of them fight when they get there. Afterward, neither of them says anything to you about it, but something shifts in how they look at you. You understand for the first time that leadership is not about being followed in peacetime. It is about being followed in the moment when following requires something from a man that he is not sure he has. The officers notice things like this. You don't know they notice, but they do. The army at this level runs on informal reputation. The formal rank structure is the skeleton. The real circulation of authority runs through a network of observed behavior and word of mouth that operates entirely outside the official hierarchy. Who held at the bridge? Who kept his men together in the retreat? Who didn't lose a single man to desertion? These things circulate. They determine what happens to you next. What you think about at night when the camp is quiet is not glory. You think about the men in your section with a specific low-grade anxiety that never fully goes away. You are responsible for them, not in the abstract sense that officers use when they give speeches. In the concrete sense that if you make the wrong call in the next engagement, they die and it is your fault. This responsibility is the heaviest thing you have ever carried, and you have been carrying it long enough now that you can't remember what it felt like not to. You are good at this. That is the most dangerous thing that could be happening to you, and you don't know it yet. Level 3. The Sergeant. The promotion to Sergeant comes after Austerlitz. You were at the center that day, part of the force that held, while the Emperor broke the Allied line at the flanks. You didn't see the genius of it from where you stood. You saw smoke and noise, a man next to you go down, the order to hold, then to advance. And then, somehow, it was over. Afterward, someone explained the strategy. You tried to map it onto your experience, but the images didn't quite fit. But you held. Your section held. Your lieutenant mentioned it in his report. 3 weeks later, you are a sergeant. Now you have 30 men. You are the institutional memory of the company, the one who knows procedure and tradition, and the 100 small rules that keep a formation functional under pressure. Young conscripts arrive looking at your chevrons, with respect and calculation, trying to figure out what you know. You know quite a lot. You know which officers are worth following into a difficult situation, and which ones will make decisions from 300 meters behind the line. You know how to read the ground before an engagement, and what the quality of enemy formation tells you about what's coming. You know how to manage the informal economy of the company without letting it undermine discipline. You also know things that are harder to name. You know the face a man makes in the 40 seconds before he breaks. You know which of your men will hold under canister fire, and which ones need to be positioned where the pressure is slightly less. This knowledge is worth more than anything in the drill manuals. The sergeants are the true center of gravity of the Grande Armée. Everyone above you knows this, but nobody says it openly. The officers command, the sergeants function. The distance between those two things is where an army works or doesn't. You have stopped being afraid in a way that used to feel like courage, but now feels more like damage. Something has been replaced in you. Danger now responds with a cold analysis. You look at a battlefield the way an engineer looks at a structural problem. Inputs, variables, probable outcomes. You have lost the ability to be surprised by violence, which means you have lost something else alongside it. Something you cannot quite name, but occasionally miss. You write home less frequently. There is less and less to say that would make sense to anyone who hasn't been here. Level 4, the Lieutenant. The commission comes through a combination of merit and attrition, common in the Empire's expansion. Your captain is killed at Jena. Senior sergeant promoted, junior officers too new or dead. The colonel reviews records, considers options, and makes a decision. You receive a lieutenant's commission, commanding 112 men. New responsibilities demand immediate operation at an unfamiliar level. The difference isn't rank, it's language. Briefings demand thinking engagements ahead. You write reports up the chain, not just receive orders. Managing officers above requires a distinct strategic intelligence. You excel with the men. 112 soldiers respond as 30 did. You maintain discipline, make hard calls, preventing uncertainty. Now you learn politics. The officer corps is complex, dangerous. Noble officers tolerate you, risen by merit, with veiled condescension. Allies from similar backgrounds, brilliant but useless, or mediocre but skilled upward managers. Navigating these types without becoming them is an ongoing education. You Now see the Empire's systemic flaws, like supply problems. You think it though, with the cold clarity of a man who sees systems, not events. What you see keeps you awake in a way that the fear of dying never quite managed. Level 5. The Captain. By the time you are a captain, you have been in the Grande Armée for 6 years. You have been in 9 major engagements. You have been wounded twice, once seriously enough that the surgeon considered the arm. You talked him out of it in the recovery tent with a focus that surprised both of you. The arm works. Not perfectly, well enough. Your company is yours in a way that goes beyond the formal authority of rank. You have commanded most of these men through at least 2 campaigns. You know their names, their histories, the names of their wives, and the ages of their children, the specific ways each of them responds to pressure. This knowledge is tactical. It makes you more effective. But it is also something else that you don't examine too closely, because it makes certain decisions harder in ways that a captain cannot afford. At this level, the army reveals its true internal economy. The formal currency is rank and pay. The real currency is information and access. Captains who have the trust of their colonels receive better assignments, positions in the line where the danger is known, rather than assignments to flanking movements where the variables are less controlled. Captains who have the trust of their men receive better performance in the moments that determine outcomes. Managing both simultaneously, upward and downward, is the essential skill of the grade. And the men who can't do both don't stay captains long. They are either promoted past where they can function effectively, or they are given assignments designed to remove them from the equation. You are in the first category. This is becoming clear to people above you. The Marshal who commands your corps rides past your position after a review and says 4 words to his aide that you are not meant to hear but do. 3 of them are your name. This is how advancement works at this level of the Empire. Not through formal process, but through the circulation of reputation. In rooms you are not present in, among men who will never tell you directly what they think of you, but whose opinions will determine everything about what happens to you next. Spain changes you. You spend 8 months in the peninsula, and it is unlike anything the previous campaigns prepared you for. This is not a war, it is a condition. The enemy is everywhere and nowhere, which is a strategic reality that the army's entire doctrine is designed for the opposite of. You cannot hold ground that the enemy simply dissolves away from. You cannot win engagements against an opponent who declines to give you engagements. You can only occupy and patrol and absorb a low continuous pressure of ambush, and sabotage and civilian hostility that has no resolution point and no end point that you can see. You do things in Spain that you do not write home about. Orders are orders, and context in a counterinsurgency is the first casualty. And you tell yourself this in a specific mechanical way that suggests you know it's insufficient. The Spanish operation is the first place where you feel the Empire doing something other than winning, and the feeling is physical, like a structural instability you can detect before it manifests visibly. You come back from Spain quieter than you left. Your officers notice, your men notice. You don't discuss it. Level 6, the Colonel. Your regiment, 1,500 men, 4 majors, 16 captains, the full weight of a regimental command, which is the last level of the army at which you are still primarily a soldier, rather than primarily an administrator, and the first level at which the political dimension begins to compete with the operational one. You are 41 years old. You have been at war in some form for most of your adult life. Your regiment is among the better ones, a reflection of the 1,000 small decisions you have made over the years about training and standards. Good regiments are produced by colonels who understand that visible drills and discipline are sustained by invisible structures. The loyalty networks, the informal economies, the unwritten codes that govern what men will and won't do for each other and for you. You manage these structures with a precision that would have seemed like witchcraft to the 19-year-old conscript you once were. You know which of your captains are rising and which are plateauing. You know which sergeant has more real authority than the lieutenant. You know how reputation flows through a regiment and how to shape it without appearing to. The Emperor is different now. This is not something said aloud, but it is understood. The man who broke armies at Austerlitz with impossible precision is still present. But something has accumulated, the weight of empire, the isolation, the narrowing circle of people who will tell him the truth. You see it in the objectives that have drifted from the attainable to the expansive to the simply very large. Russia is a word that people say carefully now. You attend a briefing with colonels and marshals. The Russian campaign is presented as a problem of logistics and will. You listen. You ask a question about supply lines. The question is answered in a way that does not answer it. You do not press it. Colonels who press marshals have short futures. But you write down in the small notebook you keep in your coat what you actually think, in a cipher that only you can read. What you think is that the math does not work, and that nobody in that room is willing to say so. You go to Russia. Level 7. The Marshal. There are only 26 of them. You are one of them now, and the number tells you everything about where you stand. Not in the army, in the world. Napoleon's marshals are the most powerful military figures on the continent. They command corps of 30,000 men. They govern occupied territories. They negotiate with foreign governments in the emperor's name. They are functionally the skeleton of the empire itself, the points at which Napoleon's will connects to the physical reality of armies and territories. The baton was presented to you in a ceremony that represented the end of something as much as the beginning. You are no longer a soldier. You are a strategic asset. Your health, your loyalty, your judgment are imperial resources to be managed. You are rich, but you are not free in any way that the word implies movement or choice. The emperor's court is a performance of power. Every gesture and word carries information about status and favor. You have watched men rise and fall with no warning beyond the emperor's unreadable face. The warmth of that face is addictive. A single approving comment from Napoleon keeps you up later than any engagement you've survived. This dependency is the primary mechanism through which the emperor manages the 26 most powerful military men in Europe. You have compromised things. There was a general, competent, who fell from favor. You knew it was political. You said nothing. Not asking is its own moral position. After Moscow, something in the court changes that cannot be reversed. The retreat is the most catastrophic thing you have ever witnessed. The systematic destruction of everything the army was. The emperor's response to it, the way he moves past it with a speed that seems almost pathological, does something permanent to you. He is still brilliant, but brilliance is not enough. You begin, for the first time, to think about what comes after. Empires that overextend don't recover gradually. They collapse suddenly. The question is not whether. The question is when. You don't share this calculation with anyone. Survival requires a specific form of internal compartmentalization. The baton is heavier than it looks. Not the object, what it means. Level 8, the architect. You are one of the few who understand what Napoleon actually built, not the battles. Anyone can understand the battles. They have been analyzed and mapped and theorized over by every military mind in Europe, not the empire in the territorial sense. The kings installed and the borders redrawn and the legal codes imposed. These are the visible parts. They are not what he actually built. What he built was a new architecture of power, a system in which loyalty flowed not from bloodline or title or tradition, but from demonstrated capacity, and in which a man who had been nothing could rise to a position of continental authority within a single lifetime. A barrel maker's son in Burgundy, or a minor Corsican aristocrat, or the child of a laborer in Lyon. This was genuinely new. It had never existed before in the history of European power. Its existence changed something permanent in the way ordinary people understood their relationship to the structures above them. You understand this because you are it. You are the proof of the concept. A man from nothing who became one of 26, who governed territories and commanded armies, and sat at tables where the shape of Europe was discussed as a practical matter rather than an abstract one. The system produced you, and in producing you, it demonstrated that the system worked. And this demonstration was as important strategically as any battle. What it cost you is harder to enumerate precisely, but you are old enough now to attempt it. You did not watch your children grow up. You were present for certain events, births, illnesses, the occasional winter quarter. But the continuous texture of a family life, the ordinary accumulation of daily presence, was not available to you. Your wife has managed your estates and your household and the social architecture of your position in your absence for 30 years, with a competence that you have not acknowledged adequately and probably cannot now. There is a distance between you that is not unfriendliness. It is the distance produced by the simple fact of 30 years of mostly separate lives. And you are not sure it can be crossed at this stage, even with intent. The men you started with are almost all dead, not all of them in battle. The army, the campaigns, the diseases, the accumulating physical cost of the kind of life you have all lived. But the result is the same. The men who knew you as a corporal, who stood in the line next to you and took boots from dead Austrians, and argued about rations and slept in the same mud, are gone. The men who replaced them in your life are subordinates or political allies, and those relationships do not have the same quality. The emperor is on Elba now. You have made your accommodation with the restored Bourbon monarchy, with the professional smoothness that surviving 20 years produces. You have retained your estates, you have retained your title. You attend the right dinners. You say the careful things. You have become accomplished at performing a political loyalty that has no emotional content. What you think about in the evenings is not what you regret. What you think about is what it meant, the whole thing. The 26 years from conscription to this chair in this house that is larger than anything your father could have imagined. The empire is gone. The map it drew has been partly erased and partly preserved. The Napoleonic Code survives in the legal architecture of half of Europe, a strange kind of permanence for something that felt entirely personal. The armies are disbanded or reabsorbed. The marshals have scattered into retirement and accommodation. The Grand Empire is finished, but the idea of it, the idea that a man who starts with nothing can become everything, that idea did not end with Waterloo. It is in every young man who watched conscripts become marshals, who understood that the structures above him were not fixed, that they had been built and could be rebuilt, that the man at the top had once been exactly as far from the top as he was. You know this because you were that young man. And the system found you and used you and cost you things you cannot fully account for. You sit in your chair. The house is quiet. Your estates are in order. Your children are grown and distant. Outside, in the provinces, in a village not entirely unlike the one you came from, a conscription officer is moving with a list. A young man's name is on it. He has 48 hours. He is afraid, and he doesn't know yet what the fear is the beginning of. He thinks this is the worst thing that could happen. He doesn't know that it might be the best thing. The best thing and the worst thing are sometimes the same event. He will march at dawn. He will stand in a formation with 200 men who look exactly as lost as he feels. He will not understand what he has entered. He will spend the rest of his life learning. And somewhere, a man who began exactly where he is looks out a window at nothing in particular and thinks, he doesn't know yet. He will.